Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Neurodivergent Ninja F1 Circuit Tour. Now, I've got to be honest, it has been a while since we've done one of these, and a lot of things have changed. First thing that's changed is I've got a mic. Second thing that's changed is I've also grown a beard. Or it could say I've got a beard and I've grown a mic. I don't know how we're going to do it. Now, thankfully, we can still do it. And I do remember the last one we did, which was Zandvoort. And I do remember what we were going to be doing, which is Sebring. And it had nothing to do with me literally watching the YouTube video and just panicking over that side of things. But genuinely, I remembered. I genuinely remembered, honestly. What? Why not? Why don't you believe that? But so, um, the one we're doing is Sebring. I mentioned that, and like I say, um, we'll do the research of it. And I've got to be honest, after doing the research, this is what I felt like. Genuinely, this is what I felt like. Because, like most tracks, like maybe there's something crazy happens, but not majorly. No, nothing major. Just little things, little odd things. And Sebring's history. I mean, it's only got one race. There's not a lot in there. But if anyone knows this GIF, they're gonna have a bit of an idea as to the type of thing I saw when it came to Sebring's history. This was what I saw. Yes, I said it's one race, right? But we had a championship decider. We had the confusing thing about it being the second race, and also the first race, and actually the last race, and a bunch of other types of races, and it was very, very confusing on that side of things, and that was very peculiar. But we also have two American hero stories. Well, I say heroes. They were quite controversial. They were quite peculiar. They were quite odd. And a little bit funny as well. And I am very much looking forward to showcase that. And what we're going to do is we're going to do this in like stages. We're going to touch on the championship side of thing first. We're going to touch on the what type of race was it? What number race was it? Was it even what was? Yeah, and we're also going to talk about those two amazing stories, which are absolutely brilliant, and I think you guys are going to absolutely love this. So let's start off with the championship decider discussion. It was over these three drivers. Absolutely iconic drivers. Some of the best of the decades. In Jack Brabham, the guy on the left. The very, very amazing Sterling Moss, the guy in the middle. And Tony Brooks, the guy on the right. Now, to give you an idea as to the sort of prestige, the sort of honour that these drivers have, two of them would become Formula One world champions. The other one would become the best driver, one of the best drivers to never win a Formula One world championship. These guys are absolute peak in terms of the type of drivers they are. You are talking, if you were talking in modern terms, you are talking the equivalent of Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc. Like that is the sort of style we're talking about here. They were absolutely brilliant drivers. And in terms of the championship decider, they were all very, very close, right? Now Jack Brabham had the advantage, right? As long as he had both drivers behind him, he was going to win the world championship, no doubt about it, right? Even if he finished third, as long as Sterling Moss only finished second, he'd be fine. And if whether he finished or not, if Brooks didn't win and Moss didn't finish second or higher, he was going to win the championship as well. For Sterling Moss, if he'd have won the race on his, no matter what, he would have won the world championship. If he finished second with Brabham behind him, and Brooks first without the fastest lap or lower, he would have won the World Championship. Or if he finished second with the fastest lap with Brabham behind him, he would have done so, right? Tony Brooks, he was the one that had the disadvantage. He had to get the first with the fastest lap with Brabham third or lower, or first with Moss second without the fastest lap and Brabham third or lower. A lot of little things there and a lot of complications, and now I've just complicated it. I'm going to simplify it and show that this wasn't the special highlight of the championship race because, well, Brabham didn't win the race. Neither did Stoney Moss and neither did Tony Brooks. And because Tony Brooks finished third and Stoney Moss didn't even finish in the top two, Jack Brabham won the championship. He won the 1959 season. So that is, in a weird way, the disappointing bit. This was potentially going to be exciting, and it turned out not to be. But now I'm going to talk about the thing that was about that thing of is it first or second or last or whatever. Well, it was last because it was the conclusion of the season of 1959. But what about that first or second thing? What about that? Well, here are the American Grand Prix that used to be held in the 50s. On the left is the straight at Sebring, and on the right is the Indianapolis circuit, right? Obviously would later become the Indy 500. So how was it the second race? Well, Indianapolis was actually the original US Grand Prix. It was actually held right at the start of the Formula One World Championship. I think it was the thing that was set in place to make it a World Championship. And so that's what makes Sebring second. And even in 1959, the Indy 500 was in that thing first, right? But the thing about Sebring being first, well, this is where it gets weird. You see, for some unknown reason, a lot of the European drivers who were the top drivers at the time didn't want to drive at Indianapolis. It seems ludicrous now to think, that the Indy 500, they started the Indy 500 to a certain extent, and the Formula One drivers didn't want to race there. And you think about it, it's like, well, they had the perfect opportunity to get the second of the Triple Crown. We know the prestige it is now, but back then it seemed like it was too much of a trek, too much of a journey to go over to America at that time. Formula One World Championship was a very European-centric championship, very unlike what it is today. And so because of that, missing out on one race wasn't going to be a big deal. And because all the championship contenders decided to do that, there was a lot of single race winners that were at Indianapolis 500 because there were a lot of entrants that probably didn't go into Formula One afterwards. So that is a reason why it was the first and last and everything and the second and everything like that. So that explains that side of things. Now I wanted to talk about the largest segment, the bit of the two American heroes, right? This was a bit, I had to laugh when I saw these things. I really did. Because, let's just get into it. So the first one to talk about is this guy. This guy on the left is Roger Ward. Roger Ward was a brilliant American driver. He was one of the ones that used to win Indy 500s and Indianapolis. And, well, he put himself as a bit of an icon, not because he won the race, far from it. He finished last. But it's to do with the pictures on the right. In the top right-hand corner is the Ferrari of 1959. And was the typical what would be expected for Formula One cars, the size of them, and everything like that. And I stress the size of them. The bottom right is Roger Ward's car. He called it a midget. It was his own car, and as you can see, it was tiny. Like, it looks like a kid's Formula One car. But it was hilarious, right? And this is the thing, right? Was he was quite confident. He thought he had a race winning car. And to give you an idea of his confidence, um, there was a situation that happened, and um, what happened was the fact that at the hotel in Sebring, the day before, I think it was night before practice. Yeah, night before practice. There was an interaction that went on. The people in it, that were part of it was the manager of like the top team at the time, John Cooper of the Cooper team, and Jack Brabham, again one of the leading drivers, and Bruce McLaren. Yeah, that Bruce McLaren, the guy that was the start of the McLaren enterprise. They met Roger Ward at at a hotel in Sebring. And Ward had won the Indy 500 and would win it again. And he said, I'm going to be driving a dirt track car around Sebring. Jack Brabham, he was like, what? In the Grand Prix? In the Grand Prix? And Ward responded, yeah, sure. Have you guys got a surprise waiting for you? Why, on every turn, I'll blow you right off the road. Now, the Cooper team, of Brabham and McLaren were like, how do I have to explain to him, like, the types of cars that we've got? They tried. But he was insistent. He thought he had a race winning car. And he was like, I know what this midget can do. And I know it can take any corner faster than any of those sports cars you have in Europe. You might be faster on the straights, but when it comes to turns, you just won't have a chance. And Sebring's got a lot of turns, isn't it? Now, here's the thing. When you have a car that different, it has to like go through the regulation checks, right? This was a one-off. He was attempting as a one-off, right? And everyone expected this one to not even qualify and not even be accepted as a Formula One entrant. But it was. It ended up being in the Sebring race. In fact, that snapshot is from Sebring 1959 of that midget. But here's the thing: during the first practice lap, Bruce McLaren, Jack Brabham, and Roger Ward actually ended up on the same at the same corner together, and the Coopers sped on through. Ward couldn't even get round; could barely get round, and yeah, he basically went back into the pits, and he said, "I gotta hand it to you. Those European buggies sure take corners fast." And yeah, he tried his best. He retired with technical issues, but and do you know what? Credit to him. He knew he had no chance or limited chance, but he decided, you know what? I'm gonna stick to it. I entered it. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm probably going to get lapped about 50 times, but all right, that's fine. It'll be a laugh. It'll be a jolly good wheeze. And sadly, his car retired too soon for that to happen. But there's your first American hero, Roger Ward. Uh, this was quite mad. Now, remember, guys, this is one race, right? So, in the same race as all this was happening with Roger Ward, there was another American hero. This American hero was a guy by the name of Harry Schell. Now, Why is this guy a hero? Because to the amazement of everybody, Shell qualified on the front row. It surprised everyone, right? Moss, Brabham, Brooks, they were the top three guys, and everyone thought that they had qualified in the top three. Moss, Brabham in first and second, Brooks in third. Yeah, the top row, the front row was three cars, right? And then they found out right at the end of the session, Harry Shell qualified ahead of Brooks. Shocked everybody. And yeah, very, 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 very crazy. And anyways, the everyone was like, "This seems a bit dodgy." In fact, there was even shouting matches going on as the national anthem was being sung. So, what did Shell do that made it so controversial? What was discovered? Well, for that, you need to see the track layout. I'm going to finally show you the Sebring track layout, which is this. Okay, so you got the start finish straight. You can see is just below the sort of like brown spectator parking, and it looks like a good track. I've got to be honest. You know, you got a nice little first bend and second bend, then you got a 90-degree turn going underneath a bridge. Gotta love going under bridge. Got a few chicanes like S's, right? Then a banked curve, a hairpin, a good straight, followed by another chicane, and then a smaller straight, and then a turn. And then, as is always the case with America, two long straights, followed by another hairpin. That's a good track, I've got to give him that. Really good track. Why am I bringing this up? Because Harry Shell basically qualified near the tail end, so people weren't really paying that much attention. And what was going on was that past the MG bridge and just before the S's, there was this sharp right hand turn. It looked like it was going nowhere. But no, it was going somewhere. It turned out that it was connected with the Webster turn at the warehouse straight. So that bit that's in light grey, Harry cut all that and cut off 6 seconds of his time. Now, I've got to be honest, Harry. If you're cutting that much off, you should have qualified pole, mate. Like that's the equivalent of cheating on a test and only getting 95, not 100. Like it's a little bit weird. But yeah, he came back on the course and everything like that, and yeah, he he cheated. You gotta hand it to him, ain't you? Like that's quite funny, and the fact that no one noticed that's even better. But yeah, that that genuinely happened. Now, again, I gotta give him a little bit of an attack for this because he didn't win the race. He finished eighth. He didn't even finish in the top three. So after all that qualifying, after all that controversy, didn't even finish in the top three, which I think was a good thing. Because could you imagine if someone lost out on the world championship because Harry Shell qualified ahead of them through cheating? Yeah, was was quite funny. But yeah, that is Sebring for you. That is the race of Sebring. It was hilarious to look at all the stories, and yeah, a championship decider, a um a confusion over what type of race it was, two controversies and weird things that happened. I mean, if every racetrack had one of them as their only race, I think they'd go, do you know what? We've gone out with a bang. Um, Now the reason why it was its only race is because of money reasons. Um, Sebring is actually a really famous raceway. It's used in endurance racing, and sadly, Formula One at Sebring wasn't quite as popular as endurance racing in Sebring, and so yeah, lost out, and so money wise meant that they decided no more. We're not going to be able to do it, which is sad. But what a fun time to be alive during the 50s, eh? Anyway, should we have a look and see what we're going to do as our next track? And I promise we are going to do it at some point soon. So let's have a little look and see what we get. Okay. Let's have a little look. Still got a lot to go, and I actually have never heard of this circuit. The Circuit Mont Tremblant. That's going to be a very interesting one because I've never heard of it. Never really got that. And so, yeah, that is going to be a fascinating one to do. We've still got 70 more after this one, so we've got a heck of a lot to get through. But guys, feel free to like and subscribe and comment. And if there is, anything that you would like us to adjust in this circuit tour, then feel free to let me know. And until next time, take care. Oh, missed doing it, haven't I? Oh.